Hey, we got Dan on with us, and we're going to go ahead and get our cameras going here. And let me lower
Hello,
that.
everybody.
And there we are. So, hey, we're up. We're going. We managed to get past all the glitches.
Oh my gosh, it's one of those days.
So, looks like you're a little bit laggy, but that's okay. I think it'll catch up. So,
Yeah, I'm seeing that on my end too. I see your mouth move and then the sounds about 5 seconds later.
yeah. Well, you know what? First time for everything, and I tested this earlier today. I'm gonna see if I can lessen. Do you have anything open on your end?
A couple things. Let me close everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna close everything that's not vital.
I have a pretty strong machine with a lot of RAM in it, so it should be okay. But I'll close everything down. See if it gets a little better. And my internet is very strong.
Yeah, and I think it's going a lot better now. But
Okay.
lagging's okay. We can just listen and let's see if I put Dan up there. So Dan, how have you been weathering the lockdown-ish stuff?
Well, you can tell by my hair that I haven't been able to have a haircut for a while.
Yeah, me too.
But I'm doing good, man. Thank you. How about yourself?
You know, it's given me a little bit more time to get technically advanced. I don't know why it's decided to lag now that we go live, but such as tech.
That's all right.
Hey,
Let me just double check on my machine, see if there's anything I can force quit that shouldn't. No, there's nothing running. Oh, iTunes is running. Let me close that. That's a pig. Yeah, I'm working on my big show machine here right next to me, which is a fire-breathing dragon. And I upgraded it to a RAID array, and of course it's screwing up now. So
yeah,
we're on my laptop.
I might be able to lower the stream settings. Hang on, let me see if there's a fast edit stream size. Nope. Once we're on, we're on. Oh well, it'll all work itself out. So
Yeah.
Got any industry things going on? What you got in the pipe?
Well, right now, since we're working from home, all of Yamaha and Line 6 are working from home. I've just been working on Helix native packs. And then it's basically recording focused. We've noticed a lot of people that love Helix and Helix native, and they can get a great big sound while they're playing at home by themselves, but they're not having as much luck as they should recording. So if you're not familiar, if you haven't spent much time in a recording studio, it's kind of surprising what the engineer wants out of you. So I've been working with Tom Sorowski, my business partner, for the Impulse guys. And we've been going over to Henson Recording Studio and making Helix native patches that work really well for recording. And we're auditioning in a mastering room over there at Henson. So far, so good. I think those will be available in the summer. But I've got 3 packs that I've done for them. And then I'm working on a secret project that I can't talk about with Line 6, but it's really nice. But as far as the industry goes, man, everything's just kind of on hold. I think everybody's trying to survive. I know that, Guitar Center in particular, I had heard they laid off thousands of people. And we hope that turns out okay for all those guys. But it's a rough time. It's a rough period for everybody.
It's kind of like a duck and cover situation. I hope you don't get anything on you. Just
that's right.
That's
right.
Try and
well, you and I both know I just donated to a GoFundMe thing for the employees over here at True Tone Music in Santa Monica. Everybody's hurting. Everybody's really hurting. So as far as the industry goes, I think we're all just hoping,
yeah,
wishing for the best, hoping this ends safely and soon.
Yeah, well, I won't get into any personal feelings, but I will say
Yeah.
that it's rough on everybody, and I hope I feel bad for those who have died from it, and
Yeah.
I'm older, and I've been in my house since. I mean, I've gone out about maybe 5-6 times in the last month and a half. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm getting a little stir crazy. And when they told me they're gonna
Oh,
stop the barbers, I was like, oh well, I need a haircut.
yeah. Look at me, man. My hair grows like a weed. So
I think this is
I hadn't had a haircut for about 6 weeks before the lockdown happened. And so now I'm going back to full on rock and roll hippie, I guess.
I got this. It goes right down to the tip of my nose. I don't think I've had that since I was in high school.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, I hear you though. I'm part of the demographic, the vulnerable demographic, because, I had a big surgery a couple years ago. And, so technically I'm on the list. I just go out to the grocery store and the pharmacy and that's it. I go walk around the neighborhood once in a while, with a mask on. I have my mask in my pocket. I keep it with me everywhere I go, just to be safe. So is this the new protocol now? Is this what we need?
I think I have some around here somewhere. Let's see.
Yeah, we can do the safe Skype call. Skype's so realistic now.
Yeah. No, I don't have
But
mine here.
that's all right. You don't need it. I was just kidding.
But
Yeah, I know it's hard. I think everyone's mental health is a little bit stressed right now, a little bit stretched, and I think that's perfectly normal. It's a crazy time. No one alive has ever seen anything like this, and unless you lived in Asia during the SARS thing, or the bird flu.
right.
But so I have very high hopes, though. I think we're all going to be okay. But yeah, speaking, I just got an email about an hour ago from a friend of mine whose father passed away from the virus. So it's getting around everywhere.
Well, yeah, they're talking about the hydroxychloroquine, being something. I figure personally myself, if it's been around for 40 years, why not try that? They're saying that it's been,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
I don't know anything about the drugs, but I think a lot of people are taking it. So we'll see. I think a lot of doctors are trying it, but I think I don't know much about it. I just read it's like any drug. It's good for some people, not good for others.
yeah.
So I don't think it's a miracle cure, but it'd be really great if it worked for some people. Saving one life is worth it. Definitely.
I think I'm gonna turn off some. I forgot these things up here. I'm gonna see if I can get that turned off. Exit Dropbox. That should probably.
Yeah. I have nothing else running now except for Skype and Finder. So, and then I could do a quick speed test on my internet and see what I'm getting here real fast. Is it still really, really glitchy on your end?
It's not too bad. I mean, it's not what it was earlier
It seems
today.
to be getting better.
Yeah, I'm gonna seeing if I can get these. Dropbox is closing. Quit that program. Don't whatever I do, don't quit Skype.
That's right. No Skypey.
Yeah.
I'm getting
Andy's
rocking
out.
speeds. I'm getting over 200 meg here. So
Well, it never fails, but that's okay.
but I know you and I are a long way apart. So
Yeah. Well, it's pretty amazing technology. So, yeah, things are closing down. Let's see. I don't need that one on either. Quit parallels access. I don't need that. Okay.
I like how Skype does this depth of field blur thing now. This is my first time on Skype in a year, so that's a new feature. It looks good.
Yeah. I think it's a new thing they're doing. Let's see. Quit that. Okay.
It works.
Yeah. So tell me, Dan, you're a pretty good storyteller. Tell me how you got into the industry.
Well, I have a personality flaw. That's the main reason. Um, I have to know how things work. I don't know why that is, but I got my first Marshall amp when I was 13 years old, little 50-watt Marshall combo, and I 6 weeks later took it apart so that no two components were connected. I unsoldered everything. I wanted to know exactly how it worked. And it took me months to get it back together and get it working again. So I learned a lot in that process. And then I started gigging, actually performing with my band when I was 13 years old. We were playing gigs at all the junior highs and high schools in my hometown. We weren't allowed to play at bars, but we played all the high schools at lunches. So we got excused from school. And by the time I was in high school, I joined a band that was playing. I wouldn't call it a touring band, but we were gigging on the weekends, 3 weekends a month, usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I was able to work out a deal with my high school. And so I was playing with old amps. I just learned how to fix them. So fast forward 20 odd years, Peter Stroud, my business partner, was 65, gets the gig with Sheryl Crow. And Cheryl is demanding that they drop volumes on stage quite a bit because her set was getting out to 3 hours. And I think at the time she was approaching 40 years old and just didn't want to yell over 50-watt Marshalls and super reverbs and all that stuff. So Peter and I set out to design our first little amp that would be just for him, so he could use on Cheryl's gig. And we took us a long time, like a year. And what we did is basically combine the best of two different little 18-watt amps that we both loved. I had a 63 AC15, and he had one of those old 18-watt Marshalls. They were both really good, but not nearly robust enough for the gig. So we combined those preamps, added a lot of features to it, and made our first amp. He took it to practice. Cheryl said, "I love that. I want one." No. We'd spent all this time making an amp. And then the other guitar player wanted one too. So next thing you know, we made 5 so they could take 3 out on the road and have 2 spares, right? And then as they started gigging, I started getting calls. I was still working at Blue Shield of California as an IT project manager. And I started getting calls at my desk from Steve Miller and Joe Walsh and Peter Frampton. And Peter was giving him all my number and said, "Call Dan, he'll make you one of those amps." No, I won't. I don't want to make more amps. But it just caught on. It just caught on. So that's like 2002.
Yeah.
So by 2004, we signed up a few dealers. We had a backlog of 80 to 90 amps that had to be built. We just kind of got into it by accident. The business kind of drug us into it. We didn't really plan on it. And then, before the recession, that 5-year period before the recession was boom times. Like we couldn't make enough amps. We got up to the point where we were making 400 or 500 amps a year. We had a big shop. We had a full crew. I had an accountant. I had a lawyer. Like it was full on business. And I just kind of, by 2006, I quit my day job because we were making money and it was working. We weren't planning on a worldwide economic downturn, of course.
2008, October.
Yeah, by 2009, the banks kind of dried up and our whole business model was based on banking. And then by 2012, I decided to do a license deal. It was just hard. But anyway, it just kind of pulled us in. Peter and I didn't sit down and say, "Hey, let's start an amp company." It was just, Cheryl was all over him. He wasn't happy with the low-powered amps on the market. At the time, we tried a bunch of them. It didn't work. So my wife was pregnant with our first child. I had lots of free time because she was going to bed at 8 o'clock every night. And I went out into the little shed house behind my house here and just started making an amp because I had been working on my own amps for years, like at this point, 25 years. And then Peter and I used to work in a music store in Atlanta together, and we get all these old vintage amps that people were just throwing away because everybody wanted a Master Volume Marshall or something. And we would hop them up and play with them. So we got pretty good about adjusting gain structures and putting different components in different places to get the sound that we were looking at. And I had become familiar with mercury magnetics, hopping up old amps before that. And so we kind of had a formula already. So at one point, I just bought an empty chassis and some tube sockets and pots and switches and jacks and went for it. And then the rest of it was a runaway train for years. So kind of long answer to a short question there.
Well,
Sorry,
that's good. No, I enjoy your answers. It's interesting. I wondered why we had such a good connection. I am similar. My mom was so frustrated with me as a kid. I would take everything, you name it.
Yeah.
I would take the vacuum cleaner apart. I'm like 6 years old.
Yeah, my parents tell the same story. Like I got a dump truck when I was 5, like a plastic dump truck, and I pulled the axles off and straightened them and lubricated them so that I could make it jump off a ramp. Like I've always been that guy. I got to know how things work. Yeah, I've noticed that with you too. And you have a very entrepreneurial spirit as well. And you like digging into things and making it work better, hopping things up. We're brothers like that. We definitely have the same neurosis.
Well, when I was in high school, I took 3 years of automotive, and he taught me a skill that has carried over for my whole life. I can really appreciate the skill, and the skill is troubleshooting.
Right.
And it's its
I
own
have
thing.
Electronics classes, same things. You're just not afraid to dive in and make it work.
And it's its own little thing. It's like if you learn this, you can apply. If you learn troubleshooting, you can apply it to your car. You can apply it to your computer. And so
That's right. It's a mindset. Yeah.
I've been a computer repair person in IT since I was 18 or 19. So
yeah,
we have
I did a stint I was an IT guy at Disney for a few years, and then I went into the software business. So, we got a similar background. You can help me with my Mac right now.
First, I got to get mine working right. Somebody, Bent Tom says, did Dan Boul go to law school?
I did for a year. I didn't finish. The OJ trial made me quit.
So is that really serious? So what about the OJ?
Yeah.
What about the OJ trial made you stop?
Well, so I went back to college. I was on the road playing music for like 10 years, and I went back to college when I was 27, and I rushed through, did summer school and a heavy load and the whole bit. And then I started law school when I was 30. Which was 1995. And I was doing 1L, and I was working here in Century City as a law clerk. And my dad's an attorney, so I had some good office skills already for a law firm. So I knew how to, do filings. I knew how to go downtown and, get proofs of service and do all these kind of simple grunt work that you do in a law firm. So I got a job working for a friend of mine was an A&R guy at Virgin Records, and he got me a job with their law firm. And I was a slave. I was just making copies. I was just running downtown, putting files in a folder, signing proofs of service. Nothing complicated at all. But they let me go to law school at the same time, so it was really cool. And so I worked in Century City in a pair of buildings called Watt Plaza. So a few floors above us was Robert Shapiro's law firm.
Oh.
So I used to have lunch with the other slaves from Shapiro's firm because we had no money and no time. We were just guys out sitting on the bench out in front of the building, eating sandwiches out of a brown bag, right? And, after a while, it was like, hey, they started I probably shouldn't say this on a broadcast, but I was privy to some details about the trial that didn't get in the trial. And it was horrifying. And the whole thing was just crazy. And so while this was going on, the lawyers that worked in the law firm kept asking me, why do you want to do this? You seem like a happy person. Why do you want to be miserable for the rest of your life? And I realized that it just wasn't for me. And then when the OJ trial came down, I just couldn't believe it. And I had seen all these things that the public hadn't seen. So I saw like the crime scene photos and, all kinds of stuff. And it was ugly. It was really ugly, like traumatically ugly. Like you need to go to therapy after seeing this stuff. And at the same time, I was giving guitar lessons to a guy who was an IT manager at Disney. And we kept talking computers all the time. And I've had my head in a computer since, back in the XT and 286 days. And I knew I can build computers from scratch for a long time. It was no problem. And so he said, man, you know more about this than the guys that work for me. Do you want a job? And I went, no, I don't want to do that stupid shit. And he said, well, what do you make at the law firm? And I told him, he goes, man, I can double that. I went, cool, I'll see you on Monday. And I resigned from the law firm and I resigned from school. And I just knew it, like right then. The only reason I had stuck with it up to that point was I didn't have another option. And I'm fresh off the boat from Missouri and I'm living in this expensive city and I didn't know anybody. So he said, yeah, I'll double your salary. It's fine. It's what entry level, desktop and server guys make. And great, sold. I did it. I'm really glad I did it. And then I worked for Disney for a couple years and had a similar thing. Oh no, I just got someone else I know just passed away from COVID. Oh my God.
Oh my. Oh my.
Yes, Derek Underdown from Blocks. Oh my goodness. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I got poached by a software company. I saved them from getting kicked out of Disney because I figured out a problem that they were getting wrongfully blamed for. And it was the same situation. What do you make at Disney? And you want a job in the software business? I went, no, I don't want to do that dumb shit. And he said, what do you make at Disney? And I told him, he goes, well, I'll double your salary. I'm like, okay, I'll see you on Monday. And I resigned from Disney in 97. And I was in the software business until 9/11. And then I went to work for one of my customers who was Blue Shield of California. And I was an IT project manager there because being in the software business, I can talk to the businessmen and I can talk to the techies. Like the old story about John Lennon going in the studio and he says to Jeff Emmerich, I want my voice to sound like the Dalai Lama on a mountaintop. And everyone in the studio went, what the hell is he talking about? And Jeff Emmerich turned around to the worker bees in the studio and said, bring me 2 echoes and a reverb tank now. He knew how to do it.
Yeah.
But I was that guy in the software business. I could sit with the business people and they'd say, we're trying to be able to run reports and do this and do that. And then I can turn around to the techies and go, all right, I need 2 engineers, I need 2 developers, I need some servers, and it's going to take 18 months, and I need this much money. And I just get that for some reason. I'm not particularly intelligent, but in that respect, I just understood it. So it was fine. I enjoyed the software business until 9/11 hit, and it destroyed the whole industry. So then I went to work for one of my customers.
Yeah.
Who, it was another long answer to a short question. Sorry. But so that's the thing. Yeah, I went to law school for a little bit, and I realized, my dad's an attorney in Columbia, Missouri. And he's the protector of the little man. He's Atticus Finch, remember from To Kill a Mockingbird? Atticus was the only guy that believed the African-American guy who was wrongly accused of rape. That's my dad. And I want to be him when I grow up. So I was the victim of a record deal in the 80s. I was in a band where we got a deal on RCA. And so I had these ideas that I was going to protect all my music business brothers the same way. Little did I know I was swimming with sharks, and I was way out of my depth. So, law school, I'm glad I got out. I mean, there's times where I wish I'd finished and I could help my friends, because I have a very natural protective instinct of my friends, and I really want to help my friends. But I don't think I'd be a happy person if I'd done it. Not nearly as
Yeah,
happy as I am now.
I tend to understand where you're coming from. So,
Yeah. So yeah, so I have a legal background. I grew up, working in my dad's law office when I was a kid for extra money. I'm an only child, so that means my dad and I sat around talking about his work a lot. And then my limited experience in a pretty high-powered law firm. So I think I'm just above average. I wouldn't call myself an expert by any means.
well, at least you are happy at what you're doing in your life now.
Absolutely. I got a lovely wife and two amazing daughters. I married over my head. None of that would have happened had I stayed in law school.
So, with regard to 65 amps, when you got
Mhm.
into that, and then the crash came in 2008, you were still selling amps after that, right?
Oh, we sold amps really well for about 2 or 3 years. It was just that our business model was based on a business line of credit. So every quarter, I'd have orders on the board, and I'd take them down to the Bank of America in my neighborhood, and I'd sit with the private banker, show her my orders, and they would lend me roughly 37 to 41% of those orders, depending on how it looked, what my inventory was and everything. And they gave me a lot of great advice on managing my supply chain and financing. And, you know, it was a really positive thing. And we were making good money. We weren't getting wealthy by any means, but we were making a living off of it. And when the recession hit, the bank started to tighten up. I used to go every quarter and get that business line of credit re-upped, and it would take 24 hours. So by 2009, it would take a week. By 2010, I walked into the bank one day and to go see Sylvia, our private banker, and she wasn't there. She had no longer worked at the bank, and the bank manager came out and talked to me and said, "We don't do that product anymore. The times are too hard. We don't. The only business lines of credit we do are 5 million and above,"
Oh,
which
wow.
I don't qualify for that.
Yeah.
Our sales were just barely over $1 million a year. So, so we kind of self-financed. We started factoring our orders, which is pretty expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got an offer to do a license deal from ETI Sound Systems, and we took it. After a while, kind of didn't have a choice. So by 2013, we had moved all of our production over to their factory, which is downtown here in LA. And that just wasn't a great fit. They're really good at making stuff, but they weren't successful at marketing or selling. So things got a little weird, and our business went down quite a bit. And then a couple of years ago, as you know, I had double bypass. So I ended the license agreement. It was a mutual thing. We both ended it. And it's just kind of been in a holding pattern ever since. All my stuff's out at Mojo Tone right now on pallets. I need to get out there for a few weeks or find a new partner that wants to run with the ball here. I'm too busy trying to make a living. I got two teenage daughters and got this house to pay for, and my wife's working full time. So there's no way I can get out there right now. So if you know anyone who's interested,
Hmm. Interesting. We'll
So
let that
again,
one
long
sit
answer
there.
to a short question.
That's
But
okay.
yeah, once the banks went away, it was impossible for us. We had a really great. I mean, we used that business line of credit they ended it in 2010. We started it in 2003. So for 7 years, Man, it was great. And I had this like business advisor and with this private banker. It was really great. She hooked me up with vendors. She hooked me, all sorts of stuff. It's really great. They kept me out of trouble with the city and the state, for workers' comp. And, they knew all that stuff that I had no idea about. We were running above board too. Like we paid our taxes, we had workers' comp, I had business insurance. We did everything by the book. I didn't play any games at all. No cash deals in the parking lot.
Those will
And
those will get you bad.
yeah, but the recession just kind of took the wind out of everything. So here we
Well,
are.
when I was in that during that crash, I right before October, I had taken a television ad for my computer repair business. It
Oh my
was
God.
scheduled to run in October of 2008. I
Oh
got
boy.
zero phone calls. It's as if somebody walked up and turned the faucet off for my business. It was
Man, you
it
took
was
the words
rough.
right out of my mouth. Like it just shut
Just it
off.
just it just dried up just faster than anything. So
Mm.
Brewberry has a question. It says, Dan, who are some of the other amp builders today that you admire the most and why?
Oh, well, that's a great question. There's several. I mean, of the guys that are more from my time period, like Fred Tacone, I really love Divided by 13 stuff. Um, he ran with the idea of that 5879 preamp tube, which I personally adore because I'm a big fan of old Gibson amps. And I never built an amp with a 5879 because of Fred. I didn't want to step on his toes. I really like his amps. I played some stuff now that I think is really nice. I think the Milkman amps are really nice. Um, there's a few guys out there doing really good work. I want to see people survive. It's hard to survive. It's hard to make 5 years in this business because you start out doing it at your house where you don't have any overhead. And then once you build up your organization and you get legal and everything, it gets harder and harder, and it's harder to keep your prices down. We navigated that, but not without a lot of bruises. It was a rough transition growing. Um, but yeah, and there's older stuff that's still around. Like Matchless. The original Matchless with Mark Sampson was an inspiration to us all. Yeah, but I think of the guys from my era, Fred Tacone. I went and saw the McCartney show in 2000 with Rusty and Brian both playing those amps and went, wow, those sound great. I really like them. And then I got a hold of an FTR, was it 36 or 33? Initially, a friend of mine who plays with the Goo Goo Dolls brought one over to the house. And I got, God, this thing's great. I really love it. So it was kind of inspiring. Peter kind of thought, and I knew Fred. He was the repair guy down at True Tone Music. I knew who he was. We weren't friends or anything, but I was aware of him. And I kind of thought, well, man, this is possible. Let's do it. Peter and I have a lot different sensibility and taste than Fred does. Fred's does a very American build and very American circuits, whereas Peter and I are complete Anglophiles. Like all we care about are Marshall and Box.
Yeah.
And so it was good. He was a healthy peer. We really enjoyed. I enjoyed his amps. I heard through the grapevine he enjoyed ours. On the heavier side of things, I'm a huge fan of Wizard. Rick St. Pierre, I think makes the best hard rocking amps around. They're really good. I mean, they're just rich and vibrant and fun to play. Rick's a really cool guy. He was the head tech for AC/DC,
Hmm.
for 20 years. So he tested all of his circuits on their gear. And there was actually some of those Marshalls in their arrays were actually his amps, just in a Marshall cabinet. Really great stuff. I'm a huge fan of Rick's. And plus, he's a really cool guy. We hung out a little bit. We became friends. Really nice dude. Of the brand new, the newest new guy, the one guy that sticks out for me is, I guess is Benson. Benson and Milkman. I think those are both really swinging little American style amps. I've played through them. I actually have personal experience with them and thought, man, that's a fun amp. I really like it. So there's a lot of guys doing good work. To be honest with you, I don't keep up with it that much anymore.
Yeah.
I've kind of become a digital fan.
So, along with that question, is there any chance of a Ventura or other 65 amps amp getting in the Helix?
Yes, there is. The intentions at Line 6 are that they want to model a bunch of my amps, which haven't got to it yet. And you've been there, you know Ben and Sam and those guys. They are so busy
Oh yeah.
and they're so buried. Then you throw in a trade war, and then you
Hmm.
throw in the virus. Things are a little tense,
Yep. Yeah.
everywhere. So I'm not pushing it right now. But Mike Paganini, who is the executive vice president of engineering there, has wanted to do this ever since I started working with them, which was October 2016. That's when I started consulting with Line 6. So it's in the queue. I hope it happens. And they have a couple of my amps there. And then I've got a whole pile of them over here.
I'd love to have one here.
Oh yeah, I know a guy. I know
So,
a guy.
let's see if any. Let's see. Bent Tom says FTR 37 question mark.
37. Yeah, did I say 36? Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, it's been a long time.
okay.
Yeah, 30. The first one I played was the one with four 6v6s in it, which I think is the 37, right?
Another
FTR 37.
another question. It says Dan, if you were to ramp up, would you ever use the heavy PCB boards to do it?
Yeah, well, we already do with the whiskey and the little whiskey. Those are on PCBs, but they're very thick boards with 2-ounce traces, and there it's. I have an engineer that did that for me who works at JPL. Actually, he just happens to be an amp freak. So it's a funny little story behind that. I've known this guy for
That's what I
about
love. I
18
love your
years now.
stories.
And every couple of years, he goes, man, let me take a crack at one of your amps. I've learned some new things, and I guarantee you won't be able to tell the difference. And so we tried it a few times, and every time we did it, I picked the hand-wired version. We use the same exact components, but I'd pick it. So the last time we did it, we did the whiskey, and then Dave Friedman did the blind test for me. So he was switching. I couldn't see it. I played a Les Paul, a Strat, and a Tele. I got the hiccup, sorry.
It's okay.
I played a Les Paul, a Strat, and a Tele through both amps. He was switching. I couldn't tell which was which. And then when we were all done, he said, do you want to know what you picked? And I said, of course. He goes, you pick the PCB one every time. And so the engineer guy that I used, he hit it. He came up with some new grounding plane scheme that reduces the floor noise of the amp to nothing. Friedman actually thought his scope was messed up. He goes, I'm not getting any floor noise off this amp. And but it works. So that's what I want to do eventually with everything, is have this same engineer do that. It doesn't save as much money as you think, because the board components are the same. It's expensive. It saves some money in labor, but it's going to save me like $100 in labor. That's about it. But that counts because that means I don't have to raise prices. But what it does save me money on is time, because now instead of having a tech go through and move the wires around and silicone things down to keep them quiet, and now you just put the amp together, it works right out of the box, and the time between it being just a pile of parts and being a product in a box is a lot shorter. So, and they all sound perfect.
I think a lot of people misunderestimate how much effort goes into making a quality product, and I don't even make anything technical. And those little foot switch toppers that I made for the Helix, unbelievable! I sold them for $7 a piece, and they cost me, with labor and everything, $7 a piece. I sold thousands and made
Nothing.
actually. It put a minus next to it, and
Oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
we're like, I think we're like 10 grand upside down
Holy moly.
in the whole
I'm sorry.
R&D, So
Right.
listen,
Manufacturing's complicated. It really is.
yeah.
Like our simplest amps, we had parts from like 17 vendors that all have different lead times, different payment terms. blah, 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 different shipping considerations, all that stuff. And if you're short one screw, no amp goes out the door.
Yep.
Like the margin for error is nothing. So it's complicated, but when you haven't done it, you just go, oh, that's no big deal. Why does this amp cost so much? Or why do your knobs cost so much? Because I haven't been through it. So it's human nature to assume that someone else's work is easy when you don't understand it.
Right.
I think that's pretty, I don't fault people for that, but I do find it a little cute.
Yeah. If you have any experience at all, you go, oh, I feel bad for that guy.
Right. Oh no, I'm sympathetic when I talk to amp builders because now I don't consider myself to be an older guy, but I'm 55 this summer. And when I go to NAM and stuff now, a lot of the young amp builders want to talk to me, I sort of mentor about 3 or 4 other guys that we talk to regularly, and I just tell them what I've learned. And but I'm immediately sympathetic and empathetic as soon as some guy calls me and goes, I don't know what I'm going to do. What would you do right now? And I'm missing that. And this guy's not doing his job and blah, blah. I'm like, dude, just take a deep breath. Let's talk for a minute. It's going to be okay. But yeah, there's a few guys that'll remain nameless that we have regular phone conversations. I just give them a little bit of, same thing happened to me when I was starting out. Guys like Mark Sampson and people like that would let me chew his ear all day long. It was really great. And a few other people that just would share their knowledge with me because they'd been through the ringer like I've been through and like you've been through.
Well,
So
what I find is when you have 27,000 members in a group and
yeah,
you start a group based on community spirit, and
mm-hmm.
I have that kind of relationship with a lot of people in the Helix sphere, and I help people all the time.
You're very loved in the Helix world,
and I wouldn't probably have it any other way. And we've created this weird place, and it's just paying it forward. That's how I look at it, paying it forward. We
just being a good guy.
Yeah. So we've got several people here.
People that don't know you, like maybe if they only know you from your broadcast here, you're a friendly, affable guy who wants to be friends naturally. And that comes across. I remember the first time I met you at Line 6, however many years ago, 4 years ago almost. You're the guy that sticks his hand out with a smile and says, hey, I'm Chad. And you like doing that. You like being a nice guy, and it shows. And it's you're getting paid back for it. It's really cool.
Yeah, it was really a pleasure to get to know you and to
likewise.
And just looking forward to some of the future stuff you've got to release. I don't know how much we can talk about any of that, but it's all exciting in the IR world.
Well, yeah, Line 6 is very secretive, as you know. They're very private about things. I see and hear a lot of things at Line 6 that I think are amazing. And you've been there. It's a building full of brilliant people. I don't think a lot of people realize that when you walk in there, it's just like Propeller Head City. It's a building, it's 2 floors full of just really, really bright, capable people. And so I know what's coming. I can't talk about it, but what I can tell you is for someone who's a jaded person like I am, who's been there and seen a lot, I get my mind blown a lot. I sit in Eric Klein's office sometimes, and he'll describe to me products that are coming out in 2 years. And I walk out and almost fall down the stairs because I'm so distracted. Those guys are so brilliant. And I've seen what's coming, and you're going to be thrilled with it. I can tell you that. And I don't mean that as a sales guy. I don't work for Line 6. I'm just a consultant. I have no reason to fluff it, And it's just impressive. It's quite a contrast from the analog tube amp world. We're trying to resurrect old things, and these guys are trying to invent things. No one that makes a tube amp is inventing anything. We're talking about World War II technology that we're working with. When you walk into Line 6, they're inventing things out of thin air, and it's amazing. It's really cool. I really enjoy it.
So
and they're great people. They're all nice.
And we can't talk about what I showed you last night on
Right.
what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
Which is also really cool.
Yeah, it's different. It's unique, and I think people will really enjoy it once it's all out.
Well, it's very, let's see, how can I say this and be discreet? It's very friendly, it's very intuitive, and it's very fun. So
Yeah,
you'll
yeah,
dig
and it's a
you'll dig it.
whole lot of work, and I'm you know
Yeah. As we used to say, people our age, it's got a good beat and you can dance to it.
so
The old American bandstand thing, right?
so if you were king of the world,
Oh my gosh.
I don't know where I was going with it. I just
If you were a tree, what kind would you be? Yeah.
yeah. Um, what where do you see the industry going after this big disaster? Being an industry person with the tech and all
Well,
the
that's a great question. I would assume, I would assume, and again, this is just a guess. I have no clue. I would assume things are going to be very slow for a while. I would assume people are going to be very conservative for a while because we're all in the back of our head thinking this thing's going to come back in the fall and we might be on another lockdown. I really pray we're not, but it is possible. So we have to be at least cognizant of that. We have to respect that. So I would assume the rest of this year is going to be kind of tight. And then once we get through this, either a vaccine comes out, knock on wood, or there's some medical breakthroughs for treatments, which seems like people are working extremely hard on that. We'll see things open back up, but there's so much unemployment right now. Until that goes down, I think it's just going to be sort of treading water for about a year. If there's no one working, there's no one buying stuff. And, economics I have a degree in political science, but I studied economics too. I could have had a degree in either one. I chose political science. But one of the key terms about economics is velocity, which is how fast money flows through the economy. So when you take 20 million people out of the economy, the velocity slows a lot. There's nothing you can do about it.
oh
And it will
yeah.
take a while to build back up. It's not going to flip back on like a switch.
Well,
No one suddenly, think about if you own a restaurant that's been dead or out of business for months, you're going to hire 2 people back before you hire 20 people back.
well,
And
just think of the inventory that they lost in that period of time.
right.
Like a restaurant.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
all those 20, those large amount of people that have lost their job. Even if you haven't lost your job, I know it's affected people. Therefore,
Totally.
therefore, it's going to be a while before you get where you feel free to spend stuff. I mean, I know I've put in the last month and a half about $60 in my gas tank, and that's usually $60 a week. So
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I've got a huge truck out here because my daughter's barrel race horses, right? High school competitions. So I've got a big giant 3,500 Chevy that I haul horses all over the state with. And I'm usually putting $500 a month worth of diesel in it. And now a tank of gas will last me 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And the fuel's price has gone down. You know how expensive fuel is here in California. I bought diesel last week for $2.89 a gallon, which before the virus I was paying almost $4 a gallon for. So, with a 35-gallon tank, that saves me a lot of money.
yeah. Well, I know that
Saves me $35.
my wife told me that we have 9 rewards, which is 10 cents a gallon off per reward. So there's 90 cents a gallon I get to take off when I fill up, probably tomorrow. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what? Am I going to pay $1? I don't know. I don't know what it is. I haven't been to the gas station in like 3
Well, I
weeks.
know where I grew up in central Missouri, where I grew up, gas is about $1.25 a gallon now.
Oh wow.
And yeah, that's they can't give it away. There's no, it keeps getting cheaper and cheaper because no one's burning it. It's a really sad time. I mean, I know everybody's concerned. I certainly am. It's the first thing that pops in my head in the morning when I wake up and the last thing I think about before I go to sleep. And I certainly, you know, try to send all the good energy I can out into the world, for all of our friends and all of our music brothers and all of our friends and family. And, you just hoping and praying for the best outcome we can possibly have. It's a very scary time for sure. Very scary. But I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I'm hoping that, by June or July, the world starts looking kind of normal again. I know everybody's shooting for May 15th here in California. I think that's a little optimistic, but why not? Let's try it.
I do think one of my first things that I want to do is there right by the shop. There's this little tavern, and I love
Oh,
their chicken wings, and
yeah,
chicken wings and a nice shot of tequila. Well, double shot. It's worth it. Uh, you
I'll
know,
meet you there.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So let's see, Costco in Camas, Costco Camas. Is that that's near me, Blueberry, right? Costco in Camas is $1.89 for fuel right now. That's
Wow.
crazy. So
Yeah,
we've got
I've seen things on Facebook, people showing 99 cents a gallon somewhere.
that's
I don't know what
that's
that is.
I guess that's good. That's good. I hope.
Wow. It'll certainly save money.
When it gets down to that price, I might actually
I
be able
know
to go
people that
somewhere.
work in the oil business are, yeah,
I might actually be able to go
yeah,
somewhere now.
a dollar a gallon, you can drive all day.
Except for you can't go anywhere.
Right. That was the thing, so all the jokes here in LA. It's so nice to see the air is amazingly clean here in LA now, and there's no one on the freeway, but there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Last weekend I took my kids. We jumped in the car and just drove out to the coast highway, drove up by Ventura County, and then came back in. But we couldn't get out of the car. There's nowhere to go. I did a drive-through McDonald's, and they got like a vanilla latte or something. But yeah, it's crazy. It's like I'm in LA, but it's like living in a small town. There's nowhere to go, nothing to do.
Well,
But we'll get through it. We're all going to be fine.
yeah, I think we'll be fine. Now, this evening after we get off, what are your plans this evening?
Dinner, man. Well, the fun part of the quarantine is we're cooking at home, every night, every day. And my oldest daughter, who's a junior in high school, has taken it upon herself to cook
Oh,
every night.
nice. Wow.
So I feel like a king because for 15 years, I've been the cook guy. My wife cooks everything. Now all of a sudden, my oldest daughter is spoiling us. I'm getting used to it. I haven't cooked dinner now in like 5 weeks. It's,
Yeah,
it's real.
when my daughter she cooks something, it's always really good. She does a nice job, and yes, and this quarantine, I have probably put back half of the weight loss that I've taken off.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, I'm
I
getting
know. Me
fatter.
too. I've discovered Oreos, and you know what goes really well with Oreos every night? Irish whiskey. It's a bad combination. Don't do it.
Let's see. Yeah, good time to get some drone vids. Yeah, let's see. I saw. Let's see, David Edelberg says he'll put it up. He says I saw gas for $1.39 in Columbus, Ohio today, and at Kroger we paid $1.09 with their points. but he had been out of the
Wow.
house in over 4 weeks. Tank is full and battery was dead. Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go out and start my giant diesel every few days just to keep it alive.
I bet.
It's crazy.
Well, thank you for being on. You know,
Oh,
I
thank you for having me, Chad. It's really nice to talk to you. It's nice having human contact, isn't it,
yeah,
during this time?
it is. And, you know, I love your way of telling stories, and
Oh, thanks.
we'll talk soon. And, you know,
Absolutely.
um,
Well, I'm still doing my show during the week too, and now you turned me on to StreamYard, so
and then
I'll have you on there.
I ditched StreamYard for this. This isn't as good as it. Well, right now, the stream is not as good as I had imagined.
Eh,
But you know, it is what it
It
is.
looks great. It looks really good.
Well, I'm using my Canon EOS R $2,000 camera. So
Oh, it better look good then.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I put it on today. I was like, oh man, I'm old. You look at
Yeah.
the webcams. You don't look so bad.
Right. Well, I noticed the thing here that says blur background. I want it to blur my face.
Yeah, it's blurring the wrong way. I need beauty
Blur
mode.
the wrinkles, man.
So,
Well, it's
well,
very, very nice of you to ask me to join you. I appreciate it sincerely.
no,
And I
I
look forward
enjoyed
to
it,
talking some more.
and we'll do another one here in the future when things free up. Let's do another one. But
Absolutely. Anytime. I'm happy to join you.
so I am going to stay on the line, and I'm going to say goodbye to everybody here, and
Okay.
just hang tough. Oh,
That's right.
all right. So thank you everybody for coming. I'm going to see you guys later.